Well. Good on the Wallabies. Good on the Wallabies. I hope that that's gonna, build their confidence, and they'll be able to build on that because they are hosting the World Cup in 2027. They'll have a tough tour in Europe later down the line. The likes of who are they playing? They're playing England. They're playing. Damn, I should have done my research. Wales, and there's one more, isn't there? Scotland. No, actually, they might be able to win a couple. But the thing is, Australia, they're not gonna be up there in the Rugby Championship, in the Nations Championship. However, they did very well beating Italy. A few things I want to talk about. First of all, good on the Aussies for tuning in to this game. Full crowd once again in a country where you see at club level. The teams are struggling, notably with the Melbourne Rebels, I believe, going under a couple of years ago. And club rugby in general in Australia, for rugby union, not being something that many people watch, often empty crowds. I'm not too sure if there's much of a TV audience with a country that loves its rugby league and its AFL. Anyway, at least everyone's tuning into the Wallabies. That's what rugby union is in Australia. It's the Wallabies. It's the national team. It's the unity around that, and good on them. More than 50 points scored against a very, very weak Italian side that looked tired from minute one. Very disappointing tour from Italy. First of all, just got, crushed by Japan. Unexpected. Got crushed by New Zealand, although showing signs of being in the game until the halftime mark. And literally destroyed by Australia. It was just a try-fest. Like, they had no energy left. No energy left after, Japan, New Zealand. I mean, they have been travelling quite a bit. Thank God this game was in... I was going to say no. Of course, Perth is even further away from the East Coast in Australia. So that must have been, quite a lot of plane travels for Italy. Not an excuse, but they definitely got crushed today. And, it was always sad when you see Italy get defeated by that much, because it's sort of the relics of the past coming back to life, where Italy, used to, so that wouldn't have stunned anyone 5 years ago. But now you're like, I thought Italy maybe were in for a chance, 0 out of 2, Australia 0 out of 2. Maybe Italy sort of could have won this game if they prepared differently, another occasion, in another scenario. But as we say, if my aunt had wheels, she'd be a bike. Congrats to the Wallabies. A great performance, flowing rugby. Looked like they were, playing at their best, and we haven't seen Australia at the best for quite some time. I mean, they did beat the Boks away last year, but apart from that, it's been a very, very rough time for the Australian rugby team. Italy, as I already said, I'm very disappointed. I was rooting for Italy today, I have to say, but I think it's just tired bodies, no clear game plan, and just came across a Wallabies side that knew exactly what it was trying to do and did it better. So there's not much to say about this game. If you didn't watch it, you should probably watch the highlights if you want to see some beautiful rugby. Australia did play really nice. Not much suspense, second half. I watched it, but I do have to admit I ordered a cheeky McDonald's because I needed something to sort of look forward to, because the second half was just like the first, really, but just with less tries, and overall just disappointing. There was a funny incident in the game in the second half, actually, towards the end of the game, where there was a brawl. So suddenly, the players start fighting against each other, and the thing tips over. I mean, the whole brawl tips into the bench, and some of the staff and bench players from Italy start getting into the brawl. And one of the substitutes for Italy was subbed off. I don't think it was too good for the Australian fans to boo him as he was apologising. Very respectful Italian way of doing things. He got caught up in the mess. He apologised, and some silly Australian fans were filming him and sort of, booing at him. I don't think that was too good. And he was apologising. He even shook the hand of a random Australian supporter that was, kind enough to acknowledge him. Anyway, Italy, bad start to this tournament. 0 for 3 in the South. Italy's concern will be, hey, can we actually travel? Are we any good when we don't play at the Olimpico? Which is a very interesting thing to talk about, because Italy won't be able to grow if they concede 50 every time they play away. When's the last time Italy won a game away? Except for Wales in the Six Nations? It's a good question, actually. I mean, they probably won away against some tier 2, such as Samoa or Uruguay, I think. Chile, they played Chile, right? But when have they beaten sort of a proper tier 1 nation away? Anyone with an idea? I don't know. And Australia, well, Australia, I was doubting whether they'd be good enough to to get up to much, really. They played well against Ireland, but we know how weak Ireland are at the moment. I mean, to be honest, given what they did against New Zealand, they lost against France. That was, I suppose, predictable. Yeah, I mean, at least it's confidence building, right? Italy aren't easy to beat. They were today, but usually they're a tough side to play against. Australia did the job. If you're a rugby union fan in Australia, there's hope that the Wallabies could do something in their own World Cup next year, and that's exactly what I wish for. Anyway, that's a wrap. Australia by 50. It was about that. And yeah, look, unexpected, but we move on. There is Fiji versus Scotland that I'll be watching in a bit. Of course, the Boks versus Wales. And of course, no, not Argentina, England, but the baby Boks against the baby Frenchies. That will be very interesting. Who's going to lift the World Cup for the under-20s? And then obviously England playing in Argentina. All right, ladies and gents, on to the next one. That was a good rugby game. I hope you have a wonderful Saturday.